Spring is nature's blank canvas, a fresh start for life, from seeds pushing upwards into the warm light from the dark cold earth below, and the heart-beating life growing inside the nests and wombs of the warm-blooded creatures getting ready to bring new life into this world. The cycle of life passed down from generation to generation, parents fiercely defending their young from predation, living their lives day by day, not knowing if they will see tomorrow. Their lives will be tough. We have no concept of how different life is for them compared to our own. Although it was not so long ago we lived amongst them, alongside them, living very much the same way. Oh, how quickly we have forgotten our true selves, disconnected from our past. When I'm out with my camera, all alone amongst the wild things, I can feel only the smallest of connections, the slightest feelings of who we once were and how we once lived. Boy, does that feel good. Well, March and April only really mean one thing to me as a wildlife photographer, and that's spring and the start of bird nesting. Now, someone asked me the other day, why do some birds nest earlier than others? And some of that is down to climate change, where some birds now nest a whole month earlier now than they did in the 60s and 70s, but some of it is purely strategic. Take the long-tailed tit. They will nest, start their nesting in February, 2 to 3 weeks of building, and then they will fly off and leave that nest for a month or so, and then come back in April, end of March, early April, to start laying their eggs and having their young. Now, I think that's purely strategic, in the fact is that because their nests are made up of lichens, mosses, and mainly animal hair, and then lined with feathers, because it's a nest that needs to expand, it needs to be made up of like almost completely soft materials. The hairs, they kind of ball up, and spiders' cobwebs, they ball up, and that allows as the nest grows, as the young grow, that the nest can expand. And I think the reason why they start early is because they're trying to get the best of the pickings. I think the later on in the year they would leave it, the slimmer the chances of them getting all these lovely soft materials would be. Herons, tawny owls, blackbirds, there's plenty of birds that nest early on in the year for you to find. But today is the start of April, and I'm in West Sussex in a coppiced woodland, but there is some nice broadleaf trees in here also. I'm expecting or hoping to find long-tailed tits, because that's kind of my primary focus this year, is to find and photograph and film a nest of long-tailed tits, which is one of my favourites and certainly my wife's favourite. Chiffchaffs, who are flown here from the Mediterranean and West Africa. More north, in the south, they do and can tend to stay here all year round. They have a very distinctive sound, so they're kind of one of the easier ones to identify and find. It has very much a sound. Nuthatches. I've seen a few nuthatches in these woods, so I'd like to find one of their nests. They tend to use old woodpecker nests. Sometimes they pack mud around the old holes of the woodpecker, because they're risky, they're a lot smaller. So they pack old mud around it. Obviously wouldn't stop a woodpecker eventually finding its way in, but it will stop other predatory birds from coming in and stealing their eggs or killing the young. Woodpecker obviously would work its way through that mud, but it would give them a brief period of time to at least fly back and try and scare them off. So, looking for signs of them running up and down trees, looking for trees that have got holes in that could potentially be woodpeckers or nuthatches. Their main diet is the little grubs that live on the edge and just inside the cracks of all the bark. So they don't need to go too far from home to get their food. Well, I'm going to have a with a cup of coffee and sit and enjoy the sounds of early spring for a minute. I don't know if you can see behind me, but in the field behind there's a whole herd of roe deer, bucks and does. So I'm going to head over that way shortly, see if I can film and get some photos. Well, that was such a nice experience. I was tucked well away. They had no idea, they weren't looking at me. I think one or two may have done, but not as a group. And the eventual noise that made them run off, again, were a couple of horses with a couple of riders. But you know, it's a horsey byway, so really can't complain. But I got, you know, kind of 5-10 minutes of complete silence 101 with them. Awesome. I can't help it, but conifer pine forests have always been my favourite type of woodland. I don't know why. I think maybe it's the Scottish part of me. The smell, the pine needles, the pine needle tea. It always seems to be in pine woods that kids build these kind of Native American wickiups. Another bird I'm looking for is the crossbills. Now, a crossbill is another one of those small birds that take advantage of their circumstances. They're quite strategic again, in that they can build their nests in like January. They are predominantly in pine forests, conifer forests, that they are fairly countrywide, I believe. In fact, they've even been known to nest earlier than January. So they're a very crafty little bird. Well, let's sit for a bit and see what my ears can pick up. But I do love the wind in the conifers and the way they sway. And I guess part of it is that I learnt to be a tree surgeon and do my aerial rescue on very tall, large conifer trees. Good times. Right, well, I can hear the pheasant, see the pheasant. I'm going to put my coat on, a bit breezy, so it's quite dark in here. Okay. Again, I don't think you can tell from here, from that small screen, but it's this whole section of conifers, and then you can see where it begins to open up. All of a sudden you've got pine needles in here, and then almost like a full stop borderline where it changes into ash trees and beech trees and some oak trees, and then you can see all the ferns and the bluebells that are active on a different part of woodland. Gotta love the variety. And I think pine woodland at night time is much more spooky than any other woodland. These always remind me of the film American Werewolf in London. Don't get me wrong, I've spent a fair few nights in hammocks in pine trees in my time, but yeah, I love it. I really would like to find a long-tailed tit's nest. I must admit I haven't heard any long-tailed tits at all today. I mean, this isn't an area that I know them for. The area that I know them for is over at Pauper, where I filmed them before. So I think over the next few days, the weather looks really bad, but I think it looks better come Friday, and if it is, I'll head over to the area that I know, where I've seen a lot of long-tailed, and have a scout around there for some nests. And the horses are coming. Okay, let's head out. Second herd of roe deer. Let's see if I can get a bit closer behind these trees. Let me try and work my way around to a good viewpoint. But I clearly don't know that I'm here. Let me show you. Now some of them have got up. They are moving around. They certainly aren't bothered by me. I'm going to walk around, see if I can get a better view. And I found a ditch. That I can tuck under. I'll see if I can get my camera just up here. There we go. Okay, let's have a look. Don't seem to be interested in me at the moment. That's quite a number. Don't know how many, but more than a few. I'm definitely looking forward to coming back in the autumn during the rutting season. The ditch I'm in stinks. Really smells. Okay, let's take a few images. Lovely. Okay, let's let's leave them be and definitely come back in the autumn. I saw a couple of long-tailed tits on the last stretch, and they were around about knee height amongst some nettles and some brambles. But I can't tell if that's where they're going to put the nest or not. They're certainly busy, both of them, just around that one area. So who knows? We have some very close wildlife. I've come back to the van, and there's a blue tit headbutting itself to death in the wing mirrors. I'm assuming he thinks it's another male. So I'm assuming his nest is around here somewhere. I'll show you on the split video here that he is he's just going nuts. He's both wing mirrors on either side, and the tinted windows at the back he's had a go at as well. So he's clearly not all there. Right, well, I've had a cracking day out. Spring is definitely in full flow. I am going to check another patch out. A blue tit's mad. I am going to check another patch out for the long-tailed tits. I know where I think this nest here is now being built. It looks like it, but it's very late if they are. But they both had mouthfuls of nesting material, which is unusual. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I hope you'll join me next week. So until then, thanks for watching. Bye for now.